Hello. I am on a walk today and I have a lot to update you on, so I thought I'd just sit down and take a minute to talk to you. So, a while back, we were in this really small village on the very south of the South Island of New Zealand, and I went to the supermarket late at night to buy some groceries for dinner. And I met this wonderful woman in the supermarket, and then we had a chat for over an hour because apparently she has been a teacher during her life, which made her travel around the whole world because she worked in a lot of different schools. So she had so many stories about traveling and about her life in general because she had lived in so many different countries and she had so much wisdom. She was now retired, so she returned to New Zealand, but she had so much wisdom and life lessons, and it was just amazing. So we ended up spending a few days with her actually. We went for dinner and we had breakfast at her place and drank coffees together and we just talked about life for hours and hours, and these are my favorite kind of interactions. It was so lovely. So that was really, or is really, a valuable memory. And at one point, when we were about to leave to go to our next destination, she told us about this apple tree that was hidden somewhere on a gravel road, but that the locals used to get apples. But she said there were still some left, and the locals didn't use them anymore. So she told us where the apple tree was so that we could go and get the apples. So that's what we did. We said goodbye to her and gave her a big hug, and I know that I will never forget her. And we went on our way to the apple tree. Oh, I'll have to try to catch them, otherwise we will get all these. Yeah? So after that, we traveled to several places. We went further south in New Zealand and we lived in our truck, and which is something that we really love. But we noticed at one point we were ready for a change. Um, it was becoming really cold because it's getting winter here, and even though we love the cold and we love winter, it felt like it was time to do something different just for a little bit. Also because we have lived in the truck for many months now, and I think maybe if you take a break and you go back to it afterwards, you again enjoy it a lot instead of maybe stretching it while you notice that maybe you want something else for a while. So what happened is we found a campground in Manapuri, which is a little village very far south, and it's next to a lake with a lot of mountains, and it's beautiful here. And we have found a campground where we could help out for a few weeks with housekeeping. We help in the housekeeping and just keep the campground running. And we live at a cottage on the campground. And I think it's exactly what we needed because what I said, we really love being on the road and being in Brutus, our truck. And I'm sure that it's going to be really great also if we return to it. But I think I just came to a point that I also miss having a community or being surrounded by people, because you do meet people when you're traveling, but not always that many, especially if winter comes, because a lot of other travelers are inside in their vans, and it can get a little bit lonely sometimes. So I felt really the need to, yeah, find a community, find or create some new connections again. Um, and also for me, slow travel is the most important. So being here in New Zealand doesn't mean that I want to see as many places as possible. It's about that the places that I see, I really want to see. So I really want to take time to explore a place, and living in a place always makes you experience it differently than if you just visit it. And that's why I love so much being here in Manapuri, because the surroundings are so beautiful and you experience something so differently if it's your home for a while. And what we do now is we found a great community here, which was exactly what I wanted, as I told you. So I'm very lucky. There are some amazing people, and we go in the lake every day for some cold water swimming with the mountains on the background. And I go for walks every day. I make a fire. I chop wood every day, sit by the fire. Um, so it's a really slow paced life, which I really love. And even though we live in a cottage now, we still live really close to nature. So I didn't have to let go of that part because it's too important to me. So I'm really happy we are still going to be here for a while. And that's exactly, it feels like we are exactly where we need to be. So I'm soon heading back to the campground to chop some wood, make a fire, sit by the fire, and to just be and do the things that I really love. Um, what I do notice is that if you have a house, or at least for me, it's so easy to get used to convenience again. For example, making a cup of tea here, it's just filling the kettle with some water from the tap and putting it on, and in 1 minute I have tea. But in Brutus, in our truck, I first have to see if we have water, and otherwise I need to find water somewhere. Then I have to crawl under the bed to find a bag somewhere behind three other bags to find a tea bag. And then finally, if I found a tea bag, I need to find some matches in order to light our camp stove or a stove in the truck. Hopefully those matches aren't wet, because most of the time they are, and then they don't work. So then I have to find a lighter. Well, you get what I'm talking about. So it's a whole activity. It takes a while before you have your cup of tea, but it does make it taste better, I feel, because you have worked for it. And that's something I miss. Or it's just so easy to get used to water from the tap again and a tea within a minute. And I I miss, the feeling of having a cup of tea after, having to do quite a lot to get it. And therefore I still love now to make a cup of tea outside and to sit outside and look over the lake and have my tea there, just because I don't want to get used to this convenience too much. Um, because if things take time, it forces you to have a slow paced life because you cannot rush everything. And I think that's really important. And therefore, that's what I'm going to do for the last weeks that we will be here.